Hi, my name is Christina Rafalian, and in this presentation, I'll be exploring how August Wilson's The Piano Lesson speaks directly to my life as an Armenian American. This play is more than a story about a piano, it's a reflection on what we carry from our ancestors, their pain, their strength, and their history. As someone whose family has survived genocide and displacement, I found deep meaning in Wilson's themes of legacy, memory, and identity. So today I'll be showing how the piano lesson echoes my cultural journey and why this play felt like it was written for people like me. So I just want to start off with a brief overview of the piano lesson just to refresh our memories. The scene is set in 1936 Pittsburgh by August Wilson, and it is centered around a brother and a sister, Boy Willie and Bernice, who clash over whether to sell a treasured family piano. The piano is carved with the faces of their enslaved ancestors and holds deep cultural and emotional significance. While Boy Willie wants to sell it to buy land and gain independence, Bernice insists on keeping it to honor their family's legacy. The play explores themes of heritage, trauma, identity, and the struggle between honoring the past and pursuing the future. Now, this play speaks to me so deeply because August Wilson's themes of legacy and cultural memory strongly mirror my own Armenian background. So, in the piano lesson, the piano becomes more than a piece of furniture. It symbolizes how history survives through family objects and stories. That's something I understand personally, having heirlooms in my own family that carry emotional and historical meaning. Like Bernice's family, my community has also experienced trauma, displacement, and a constant fight to preserve our identity. We hold on to the past not out of weakness, but out of pride because it's a part of who we are. And lastly, the play's central tension between honoring the past and moving forward directly reflects the Armenian diaspora's experience. That inner conflict of remembering while rebuilding is something I've seen my whole life in my parents, my community, and in myself. So, to start off with my first point, the symbolism seen in the play through an object deeply resonates with my family history of heirlooms. In the piano lesson, the piano is far more than a musical instrument, it's a deeply emotional symbol of ancestry, trauma, and survival. The quote from Bernice, Mama Ola polished this piano with her tears for 17 years till her hands bled. Then she rubbed the blood in. This quote powerfully shows that this object carries physical and spiritual labor. It holds the carved faces of their enslaved ancestors, but also generations of grief, love, and memory. It's not something that could be sold without selling part of their soul. The blood represents sacrifice, and the act of polishing it is an act of remembering. That's why this play is so personal for me. In my Armenian family, we have a gold necklace that belonged to my great grandmother. It's one of the only possessions she brought with her when she fled during the Armenian genocide in 1915. It isn't just a piece of jewelry, it's one of the last tangible pieces of life left behind. When I hold it, I don't just see a piece of gold. I see her strength, her escape, her pain, and her love. That's why I connected with the quote from the Armenian Weekly, which states, Our heirlooms are not just objects, they are silent storytellers of the past that refuses to die. This necklace, like the piano, tells a story without words. And just like Bernice refuses to let go of the piano, my family would never sell that necklace. Because some things are worth more than their price, they hold the identity of those who came before us. This isn't just my story, it's one that many Armenians in the diaspora can relate to. Across generations, families have protected keepsakes passed down from ancestors who survived genocide and displacement. These might be gold coins sewn into clothing, delicate lace tablecloths, gemstones, prayer books, or even small wooden boxes filled with nothing more than letters and photographs. These objects become sacred over time, and not just because of their material value, but because of the stories that they carry. Next, choosing between preservation and progress. In the piano lesson, Boy Willie wants to sell the piano to buy land and start a new life. To him, he can't to him, the piano isn't just sitting there, it's not helping anyone survive. As he puts it, you can't do nothing with that piano sitting up here in the house. That's just like if I let them watermelons sit out there and rot. I'd be a fool. Boy Willie doesn't see it as disrespect. He sees it as a step towards progress. But the piano isn't just wood, it's legacy. It forces him to choose between honoring the past and creating a future. That struggle mirrors a major decision in my family story. My parents left Armenia knowing that they were walking away from their homeland, traditions, and extended family, but they did it with the hope of building a better future in America. It wasn't easy. They battled with the same internal conflict. Do we stay and preserve what we've known, or do we move forward for opportunity? And this experience isn't unique to just my family. The Armenian diaspora is filled with similar stories. Today, there are about 3 million Armenians living in Armenia, but over 11 million Armenians living across the diaspora. People left because of war, genocide, and economic instability. But wherever they went, they carried their culture with them. That tension between progress and preservation has shaped every single generation. Scholar Zaid Hussein captures this idea well, writing Wilson dramatizes inherited memory to shape the identity of his characters, forcing them to confront the past as a condition for moving forward. That's exactly what happens in the Armenian diaspora. We're constantly balancing memory and movement. And like Duran writes in Transcend Media Service, for many Armenian families, leaving the homeland meant choosing progress over preservation. But the conflict between roots and wings never really disappears. Even as we move forward, that inner pull towards the past, toward who we are and where we come from, never goes away. And then, along with those 2 points, I also resonate deeply with the emotional and spiritual haunting present in the piano lesson. The presence of Sutter's ghost isn't just a theoretical element, it's a metaphor for the unhealed wounds that live within families, cultures, and histories. And for me, that haunting feels all too familiar. In the piano lesson, the ghost of Sutter isn't just a supernatural figure, he's a symbol of the past that refuses to rest. Docker says Bernice talking about what she's seen. She says Sutter's ghost standing at the top of the steps. She ain't just make all that up. That line hit me because sometimes the things that haunt us are invisible to others, but painfully real to us. Scholar Hussein explains it perfectly again. He says Wilson uses the ghost as a dramatic device to show how history demands acknowledgement before healing is possible. In my life, that ghost is the Armenian genocide. It's the silence, the injustice, the way the world still refuses to fully recognize what happened to our people, and how that lack of justice keeps the pain alive. I grew up with that ghost. I learned about it in not just books, but in the voices of my family. Every April 24th, I march through the streets of Las Vegas chanting 1915 never again. Our wounds are still open, and we want justice. These aren't just slogans, they're cries for peace, for visibility, and for acknowledgement. And just like Bernice is haunted by the spirit in her own home, I feel haunted too. Haunted by the knowledge that the genocide didn't end in 1915. It continues to happen. My country, my people, they still face violence and erasure. And until the world listens, until justice is real, that ghost, that history will remain with us. I would like to conclude with a few key takeaways. The piano lesson was the play that resonated with me the most out of everything we read this course, not just because of its story, but because of the truth it tells about how we live with history. Whether it's the carved piano soaked in memories or the gold necklace my great grandmother carried through the Armenian genocide, I've learned that heirlooms are never just objects, they're survival and their identity. Like Bernice and Boy Willie, my family also had to make the hard choice of moving forward while holding on to the past. My parents left behind everything in Armenia, just like my families in the diaspora, carrying on only what mattered most in order to secure a better future for myself and my siblings. And most of all, I connected with the idea of ghosts. The piano lesson shows how history haunts us until it's heard. I know that feeling. I've grown up marching for justice, shouting 1915 never again, knowing that our wounds are still open and that we're still fighting to be acknowledged. That's why this place spoke to me. And it didn't just talk about one family's legacy, it gave voice to mine. Thank you.